Hi everyone, welcome back to the Big Brain Academy YouTube channel. Today is our first middle school lesson of the week, and the topic for today will be rational and irrational numbers for the big brain. So let's get started with what are rational and irrational numbers. So first, let's go over the definition of a rational number, which is a number that can be written as a ratio and be written as a fraction. Now, let's look at the definition of an irrational number, which is a number that cannot be written as a ratio or fraction. So it is the opposite of what a rational number would be, and if a number is not rational, then it would be considered irrational. So now let's visualize what rational numbers and irrational numbers look like. First, we have some examples of rational numbers, and we have 0.81 repeating. We can rewrite this as 0.818181, so on and so forth, and this can be turned into the fraction 9/11ths. So since it is a fraction, it is considered a rational number. Then we have the number 5, which we can rewrite as 5/1, and since it can be rewritten as a fraction, this number is also rational. Then we have negative 2.25. We can rewrite this as the mixed number fraction negative 2 1/4, which can be turned into negative 9/4. And since this is also a fraction, it's also considered a rational number. Then we have 0.3 repeating, which can be written as 0.3333, so on and so forth, and that can be turned into the fraction 1/3, which is also a rational number. Then we have the square root of 4, which we can simplify down to 2, and we can rewrite that as 2/1, and that is also a fraction, so it's also a rational number. Now, let's look at irrational number examples. We have pi, which if you don't know is 3.14159265, so on and so forth. It does not have a repeating pattern, and it does not terminate, so we cannot turn this into a fraction, and therefore is irrational. Then we have 0.45271705, which we also cannot turn into a fraction or ratio, so it stays the same and is irrational. Then we have the square root of 2, which if simplified is 1.41421356, which also cannot be turned into a fraction or ratio and is irrational. Now, we should look at what number categories are considered rational and irrational. So first we have what rational numbers include. So some number groups that are included in rational numbers are natural numbers. These are numbers you usually count with, such as 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Then we have whole numbers, which are numbers that include natural numbers, including 0, and cannot be negative, so these numbers would be 0, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. Then we have integers, which are whole numbers and their opposites, such as negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, and so on. These are also rational numbers. And finally, we have repeating and terminating decimals. So these are decimals that can be rewritten as fractions, and repeating decimals repeat in the same pattern, and terminating decimals terminate. They do not go on forever. Now let's look at what irrational numbers include. It includes non-terminating decimals, which are decimals that go on endlessly and cannot be turned into a fraction, and non-repeating decimals, which are decimals that do not have any repeating pattern and therefore cannot be turned into a fraction. So if a number is non-terminating and non-repeating, it would be considered an irrational number. So let's look at some examples and identify which ones are rational and irrational. First, we have the square root of 3, which we should simplify down into 1.732050. Now, since this is non-terminating and non-repeating, this would be irrational. Then we have 0.6 repeating. Since it's a repeating decimal, it's rational. We have pi, which we know is a number that goes on endlessly in no particular repeating pattern, so it is also irrational. Then we have 0.79 repeating, which is a repeating decimal, so it is rational. We have 1.75970785, and so on. So since it is non-terminating and non-repeating, it is irrational. And then we have 7. Since 7 is a whole number, a natural number, and an integer, it is considered a rational number. So thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and follow us on Big Brain Academy on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all next week.